My husband chose my sister. I had no idea. I used to believe that love was my safe place, that marriage meant forever, that the person lying next to you at night would never be the same person who stabs you in the back while you're sleeping. I was wrong. My name is Leela, and this is the story of how my perfect life shattered into a million pieces, and how I pieced myself back together in a way no one ever saw coming. Let me take you back to a time when I still trusted people, when I still believed in words like sister and husband without feeling a knot in my stomach. I met Mark when I was 23, fresh out of college, full of dreams, and so naive it almost hurts to remember. He was charming in that quiet way, the kind of man who remembered how I took my coffee, who opened doors without making it look like a performance. He made me feel seen. And after years of feeling invisible in my own family, that meant everything. My family was complicated. My mother always compared me to my older sister, Vanessa. Vanessa was the golden child, taller, louder, more confident. She walked into a room and the energy shifted. I was the quiet one, the one who read books at family gatherings, the one who didn't know how to demand attention. So when Mark chose me, not her, not any other woman, but me, I thought I had finally won. I thought love had fixed something broken inside me. We got married on a sunny October afternoon. Vanessa was my maid of honor. She smiled, she cried, she made a toast about how happy she was for us. And I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my sister. For the first 2 years, life was beautiful. Mark and I built a small world together, a modest apartment with too many plants, Sunday morning pancakes, late-night conversations about nothing and everything. I was happy, genuinely, deeply happy. But what I didn't know that day was that the person I trusted most in the world was already falling for someone else, and that someone else shared my blood. It started with small things. Little shifts I told myself I was imagining. Mark coming home later than usual. Vanessa calling him directly instead of going through me. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. Laughs from the other room that stopped when I walked in. You know that feeling? When your gut is screaming at you, but your heart keeps making excuses? They're just close because of the family. You're being paranoid. Don't be the jealous wife. Don't be the insecure sister. So I swallowed my doubts. I smiled. I played the role of the happy younger sister and the loving wife. Meanwhile, behind my back, a betrayal was growing like mold in the dark corners of my life. Until everything changed. One night, Mark forgot his phone on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything. I swear I wasn't. But the screen lit up with a message. From Vanessa. I miss you. Tonight was perfect. I stopped breathing. I picked up the phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I scrolled up, and up, and up. Messages from months ago. Flirty texts. Late-night calls. Plans to meet while I was at work. And then I found the photos. Pictures of them together. Dates. Laughing. Kissing. A whole secret life built right under my nose. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there in my own kitchen, holding his phone, and felt my entire world collapse. That night, I didn't confront him. I didn't say a word. I smiled, made dinner, kissed him goodnight, and lay awake until sunrise. Because I knew, if I confronted him then, I would lose. I would cry, he would lie, she would play innocent, and I would be left with nothing but anger and no plan. So I decided to do something I had never done before. I decided to be patient. The days that followed were the loneliest of my life. I walked through my own home like a ghost. I cooked for him. I laughed at his jokes. I let him hold me at night, and every time his arms wrapped around me, I felt like I was drowning. Because I knew where those hands had been. I knew who his lips had touched. I knew that while I was sleeping, he was texting my sister. The betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about the two people who were supposed to protect my heart the most, my husband and my sister, deciding together that my feelings didn't matter. Do you know what that does to a person? It doesn't just break you. It makes you question every single memory, every smile, every I love you. Was any of it real? Or was I just the safe option until something more exciting came along? Vanessa, of course, acted completely normal. She called me to chat about our mom's birthday. She sent me funny videos. She asked how Mark was doing, with that innocent little tilt in her voice. And I played along. Because while they thought I was still the naive little sister, the trusting wife, the woman who would cry and forgive and shrink, I was watching. I was learning. I was building a case. Let me tell you something about quiet people. We notice everything. We just don't announce it. I started keeping records. Screenshots of messages I managed to see, dates and times Mark came home late, receipts I found in his coat pockets, dinners for two on nights I was home alone, a hotel charge, a jewelry purchase that never made it to me. Every piece of evidence went into a hidden folder on my laptop. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I was never going to let them rewrite history and make me look crazy. One evening, about 3 weeks after I found the messages, I decided to test them. I told Mark I was going to visit a friend out of town for the weekend. I packed a bag, kissed him goodbye, and drove away. But I didn't leave town. I parked 3 blocks away and walked back to my own house through the back alley. I sat in the dark on the neighbor's side porch and watched. At 8 p.m., Vanessa's car pulled into my driveway. At 8:05, I saw her silhouette walk through my front door without knocking, and then the lights went off in the living room. I sat there for 4 hours. 4 hours in the cold, watching my husband and my sister inside the home we had built together. And do you know what I felt? Not sadness, not rage, something much colder. Clarity. I realized in that moment that I had never really mattered to either of them, not as a person. I was just the bridge between them, the excuse, the cover story. And I decided right then they would never use me again. The next morning I came home with a smile. I told Mark I missed him. I made breakfast. I asked about his weekend. He lied so easily, so smoothly. He said he worked late and watched movies alone. I smiled wider, because I already knew the truth. And I had already made my plan. For the next month I moved like a chess player. Quiet, calculated. I opened a separate bank account and started transferring small amounts of our joint money. Money I had earned from my freelance work. I found a small apartment across town. I packed a bag of essentials and left it in my trunk. And most importantly, I called a lawyer. Her name was Denise. 52 years old, sharp as a knife, and she didn't flinch when I told her everything. She looked at my evidence, nodded slowly, and said 4 words that changed everything. We can destroy them. Not physically, not violently, but legally, financially, and socially. Because infidelity doesn't just hurt, it has consequences. And in my state, adultery could impact divorce settlements. Especially when I could prove financial betrayal too. See, Mark had been spending our savings on Vanessa. Trips. Gifts. A secret credit card I never knew about. All of it came from our shared accounts. Denise smiled when I showed her the receipts. "You're going to walk away with everything, sweetheart," she said, "and they're going to walk away with each other, which, trust me, is the real punishment." But I wanted more than money. I wanted them to feel what I felt. The shame. The exposure. The moment when everyone you know looks at you differently. So I waited for the perfect moment. And it came sooner than I expected. My mother's 60th birthday, a big family dinner at her house, all our relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, people who had watched me and Vanessa grow up, people who had toasted at my wedding. I knew Mark and Vanessa would be there. I knew they would act normal. I knew they thought I was still the quiet, trusting little sister. They were about to learn how wrong they were. An hour before the party, I called Denise. "It's time," I said. She filed the divorce papers that afternoon, with a clause that froze our joint accounts until the settlement. Then I walked into my mother's house, alone. "Where's Mark?" my aunt asked. "He'll be here soon," I smiled. Vanessa arrived 20 minutes later, glowing. She was wearing a necklace I recognized immediately, the one Mark had bought on that secret credit card. She hugged me like nothing was wrong. "Love you, sis," she whispered. I hugged her back. "I know you do." Then I waited. When Mark walked in, he looked nervous. His eyes scanned the room, found Vanessa, then found me. I smiled. He relaxed. That was my cue. I stood up, tapped my glass with a fork, and the room went quiet. Before we toast to Mom, I said, voice steady, I have a small announcement. Mark's face went pale. Vanessa stopped breathing. I filed for divorce today, I said. Mark has been having an affair with my sister for over 8 months. Gasps. Silence. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. I have proof. Texts, photos, receipts, hotel charges, everything. And since our wedding was in this family, I thought you should all know the truth before the gossip starts. Vanessa jumped up. That's not true. She's lying. She's always been jealous. I pulled out my phone. Would you like me to read the messages out loud, or should I just show the photos? She sat back down. Mark stared at the floor. No one said a word in their defense. And then my mother, who had always favored Vanessa, looked at her oldest daughter and said, "Get out of my house." Vanessa ran out crying. Mark followed her. The room was silent for a long minute. Then my aunt came and put her arm around me. "I'm so sorry, honey," she whispered. And for the first time in months, I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was free. The divorce was settled in 6 weeks. I kept the apartment, the car, and most of our savings. Mark moved in with Vanessa. They lasted less than a year. Funny thing about relationships built on betrayal, they don't know how to survive without a common enemy. Once I was gone, they had nothing left to bond over, just guilt and resentment and the quiet knowledge of what they had done. Vanessa tried to reach out twice. Letters. Voicemails. I never responded. Some bridges don't need rebuilding. Some people don't deserve a second chance, not because you're cruel, but because you finally understand your own worth. As for me, I spent a year alone, learning to breathe again, learning to trust my own instincts. I bought a small house with a garden. I adopted a dog. I started writing again, something I hadn't done since college, and slowly, the woman who had been shattered by betrayal began to heal. Here's what I learned. Love isn't supposed to make you small. It's not supposed to make you question your own reality or beg for the bare minimum. The right person doesn't ask you to compete for their attention. They don't make you feel like a backup plan. And family, real family, doesn't betray you for a thrill. They protect you. They show up. They choose you even when it's hard. If you're watching this and you're in a relationship that feels like a slow poison, please hear me. You don't have to stay. You don't have to wait for proof. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming. It's silence. It's evidence. It's walking away with your head held high while the people who hurt you choke on their own choices. I didn't destroy Mark and Vanessa. They destroyed themselves. I just refused to go down with them. And that, more than any court settlement, more than any dramatic confrontation, was my real victory. I chose me, and you can too.